So you can add the hints if you need it. Ooh, some of you are gonna be behind. I'm sorry, because like the gluing and that should not take majority of our class. I literally built half of this puzzle with you, so we got to just do a better job. Maybe checking with our neighbors who get an understanding, so we can stay on pace. I'm kind of worried about that, especially since your test is tomorrow. For the review, put your name on this. It says on there, test Wednesday. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you hints for your properties. There's only 3 concepts on the test. Your real number or number properties of real numbers, your absolute value and order of operation, and then simplifying. So you have to memorize your properties. So you might have to take your spiral to study those properties. On this first one, what you need to do is read it and see what operation or what symbols you have to find a hint. I'm going to focus on the odds, the left column, guys, the left side. So, oops. So on this one, the hint is if you read it, hopefully you saw the parentheses moved. Did you recognize that the parentheses moved? So if the parentheses move, anything dealing with moving of parentheses is an associative property. So check if you got that understanding. If you missed it, you might want to write down the hint. Here, if you read it from left to right, hopefully you see maybe a middleman or if, and a then statement. Anytime I see if, the word and the word then, or I see something they have in common, like the middleman here is the 7 here and the 7 here, then I can cancel that out. And then I can go to the transitive property here. So the square root of 49 equals 3 plus 4. Here, hopefully you see there's multiplication, and the key thing is there's a 1. Or maybe you notice that it stays the same, nothing changed in the equation. So anything that stays the same is an identity. This would be a multiplication identity because the operation is multiplying. Here, the minute I see 0, I should automatically know 0 property. Anything times 0 is a 0 property. And then on 9, if I read it and how it changed is that we switched the order. Here it says x plus 2, but then here it says 2 plus x. Any switching is commutative. If it switches over the equal sign, then it's symmetric. But if it switches within the statement, within the parentheses, within the line, it's commutative. Okay? So I will post a partial key with hints and setup to see and answers to see if you're on the right track tonight, to check your understanding and prepare. Completing a review is the first good step to prepare for a test. But then looking over things we did in our spiral, whether it's a half sheet, whether it's a homework assignment, whether it's guided practice, that will help you review as well. All right, on the next section. Next section is absolute value and order of operations. So just remember absolute value is like a grouping symbol. So this changes to a positive 21 and that changes to 5. So our final answer is 26. So just do the absolute value first, then do your operations. Follow your order of operations. Because absolute value is like a grouping symbol. On 13, the first step should be the exponent here. When I do 3 squared, that changes this number to a 9. So really what I have is 10 minus 2 times 9 plus 13. You need to rewrite the expression once you complete an operation, so you can simplify it. So in this statement, what should we do next? Yeah, multiply that 2 times that 9. So this is going to give me 10 minus 18 plus 13. And guys, please make sure you do it from left to right. If you got points taken off on the homework, it was because you didn't do from left to right. I noticed. So you have to do the 10 minus 18 first, which is negative 8, then plus 13, which will give you 5 as your final answer. If it's a fraction, keep it as a fraction. So on the top, we should be doing the exponent first here. So this becomes 25 plus 25 divided by 5. On the bottom, we should be doing the division first. So that becomes 7 minus 3 plus 2. Right. So now with this new expression on the top, we should be doing the division first. So my fraction now would have 25 plus 5 on top. And then on the bottom, we're just doing left to right. So this would be 4 plus 2. Because 7 minus 3 is the 4, then plus 2. So this gets simplified. 30 over 6. Yes, and the final answer is 5 again. So I'm going to focus on the odds in class with you, and then you'll have time to move on. You don't have to wait on me. Some of you already have worked on the evens. You can check it while you're here, or you can check it on Teams or Remind at home. So on the back, the last section. Now you have to, for this, to receive partial credit, I must see the parentheses for substitution. So I am substituting a 2 for the x equals 2, and 1 for y. So here's how the parenthesis works. Whatever's in front of the variable, you keep. So I keep the 3, and now we do parentheses to close the parentheses to the third power. Minus 8, and now I'm substituting my y, parentheses 1, close the parentheses to the second power. So from here, you're going to need to do your exponents first. 2 to the third power turns into an 8. So really what I have is 3 parentheses 8 minus 8 parentheses 1. 1 squared is just 1. And then now we're doing our multiplication. 2 times 3, times 8, 3 times 8, go that together, that's 24. Minus 8 gives me a final answer, 16. So I'm going to circle and star 19 and 21. Circle or star, because those are just like, and these were our most mistyped. And it might be the substituting incorrectly. That's what I think it comes down to. So we're going to substitute our W here with negative 2. That W has an integer value. It has a negative. So we're going to just do parentheses, put a negative 2 inside the parentheses, raise it to a power 2. Then we're going to say minus 2x. Well, the x represents a negative 3. So parentheses negative 3. And then times y, xy, the y was 1. So parentheses 1. When we do our exponent first here, don't forget, when you do that on the calculator, if it's an integer, you have to use your parentheses, which are above the 8 and 9. So parentheses -2, close the parentheses to the, what was it, third power? Second. Oh, second, sorry. So that makes it a +4. That was the other reason why people were missing this, is that you're not understanding what happens to the sign when it's a positive, when it's an even exponent versus an odd exponent. So you need to use your calculator to check your work. So this comes out to be 4, or changes to 4. Then we have -2 times 3, times the -3, excuse me, times 1. So I'm just going to do this from left to right. 2 times a -3. Oh, it's supposed to be plus, sorry. 4 plus 2 times a -3 will make this a -6. Then times it by 1. So really I have 4 plus a -6. Or you can think of it as 4 minus 6. We should have a -2 as our answer. Yeah, it should end up being negative. Okay. So look at 21 with me, guys, because this is where, and I'm guaranteed you'll see one expression like this. This is where people make a mistake. This negative sign is in front of the x. So when you do your parentheses to substitute, my x that I'm substituting here is 6. I keep that negative sign in front of that parentheses. So when I do this, it should be written as, hold on just a second, like this. The negative sign is outside the parentheses. The inside the parentheses is the 6, which was the value of x, to the second power. Then we're going to do -7, and then parentheses x again. Remember, your x was 6. So parentheses 6, then the y, which is now -3. So parentheses -3, because this one is a negative. And then plus w squared, which was a -1 cubed. Sorry, w cubed, sorry. So when you substitute, sorry for the delay, it should be like such. And you're going to do your exponent first, the exponent of 6 squared. There it is, sorry. So when I do that, this becomes, you keep that negative sign, a -36. Minus my 7 times 6 times a -3. And a -1 cubed is a -1. So now we're doing our operations from left to right, which is this section here. -36 minus 42 times a -3 minus 1. Well, this is like saying a negative times a negative. Anytime you do a negative times a negative, what does it become? Positive. So this would be a -36 plus a positive, what was this, 126, and then -1. You should get a positive answer. You have to do it from left to right. So even if I read this and type it from left to right, you would have a -36 plus 126 minus 1, positive 89. Yes? 14. Sure. Sorry. Okay. All right, so I'm going to go back to the front on 14. This is a grouping. I need to do everything inside this grouping first, which would be the parentheses. This turns into a -4 divided by 3. I'm going to show that as a fraction or the decimal. I'll keep it as a fraction. That's the easiest way because you have a grouping here, right? This has to go to the power of 3. Oh yeah, sorry, you do. I forgot my sign. It's a negative 4 over 3 to the power 3. And then we're going to have minus, and the absolute, but this is grouping as well. And the absolute value of a negative 7 is just 7. So it's minus 7. So we can put this here in the calculator. If you want a review on how to do a fraction in the calculator, you have to hit alpha, green button, and then y equals, which is above in the blue button, upper left-hand corner. They hit enter. That gives us a fraction. I forgot to put my parentheses, guys. So I'm going to arrow to the right, guys, to get my parentheses. And then a 4 on top, a 3 on the bottom. Close my parentheses, and I'm going to put it to the third power. Yes. It was going to give you a decimal answer. So I'm just telling you. Because when you take 4/3 to the third power, you're raising 4 to the third power. That is saying 4 times 4 times 4, which is how we get to 64. And you're doing 3 to the third power. Yeah, I'm sorry, I forgot to put. So this is going to be actually a negative 64 over. It's going to turn into a negative. I forgot to put the negative. So let me do that. Negative 4 at top. 3. Close the parentheses. Raise it to the third power. Yep. It's going to come out to a negative 64 over 27. And then we have to subtract that from 7, right? So minus 7. Enter. And we get negative 253 over 27. You could keep fraction answers. I don't really want decimal answers. No, that is the simplified answer.
Do you know which?
If you put negative 253 divided by, this might be, let me see, irrational. Well, it is repeating. Okay. So you are going to do the odds and then check your understanding tonight on Teams or on Remind.